Hey y'all, welcome to a special episode of Things My Mama Never Told Me. Today, we will be discussing the 2024 election process.
Yes, hi guys, how you doing? There's so much information out there and we want you to be informed.
So, my mama told me about voting in the segregated South.
Yes.
She told me stories, and of course, historically, we learned about the fact that Black people couldn't vote, women couldn't vote, the whole suffrage movement.
Yes.
But I want to say things are different now, but there's still, yeah, right? Still things happen in the process, and people don't have a lot of information. Some people don't even know, like, where their polling site is.
That part. And so today we're going to briefly go over some information. There'll be some websites listed below. As we're talking, we'll try to have them all together at the end as well. We're trying to get through it all today, but if we don't make it all today, you can always reach out to us, DM us, Instagram, Facebook, email us, just so if you have questions, we can try our best to tell you where to get the information, right? Because all the information is different.
So first, know what you're voting for. So for the 2024 election season, we're going to have voting for all 435 congressional districts for the United States House of Representatives, and also 6 non-voting districts from the District of Columbia and inhabited United States territories. And there are special elections for federal, state, and local positions. So you have to check on your state board of elections, your county board of elections, and for people like us who reside in the state of New York, there's separate county board of elections and city board of elections for New York City. And of course, the big election, the one we're all excited about, the President of the United States.
Now, Joy, why do I care about all those other little counties? Why does that matter? The House of Representatives, I don't know what that is. Why does that matter? It's what some people may say.
Right.
You want to maybe explain a little bit why that's so important in addition to the presidential election?
I mean, so there's a difference between state, federal, and your smaller county laws, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to put people in a position of power who can represent your wants and needs all the way at the county level. In some cases, and in many states that people don't realize, we actually have a village, village level. Like I'll just say when it randomly comes to mind, the village of Hempstead. Even though it's in the county of Nassau, the state of New York, they have their own local statutes that people have to abide by. And there's thousands of small villages like that across the United States. And in New York, we also have a state senate, right? So things that just affect us in the state of New York, those are important to certain people. You want to vote for the person who's most important for you. So those matter. And we all know why electing people who represent issues that are very important to us matter in the United States House of Representatives and Senate. So you have to determine what your issues are, what's more important to you, and look for those persons who will represent you well on all levels.
So just another point on that, you can actually look up how your representatives have voted in the past and see what's important to them and see if it aligns with what's important to you. And that local guy, President Biden's not going to get your street pothole fixed.
Just as an example to make it clearer, the difference between, for instance, New York City and the neighboring Nassau and Suffolk counties, one of the differences is the speed limit. Yes. Like you all have a speed limit in New York City of what?
25 allegedly.
And I know in neighboring Nassau and Suffolk counties, it's what it used to be, like 30 miles per hour, right?
Yes, yes.
So that is an example of how local laws differ.
Yes.
But now we want to talk to you all about some important procedures and deadlines. So first, for informational purposes, please remember any information that you want, go to your state board of elections. If you live in New York has a state board of elections. If you live in Georgia has a state board of elections, right? And Joyce is going to give you in a moment some websites for New York. But then on a more local level, you have your county board of elections. And I can explain the difference between the state, county, and city to you in a few moments. And then again, like if you're in a place like New York, we'll have a city board of elections, New York City Board of Elections, as opposed to if you reside in Nassau or Suffolk County or any other county in the state of New York, that county's board of elections. So Joyce, do you have some websites where people can go to find out information?
Sure. So for New York, it's vote.nyc. You can also go to the New York Public Library's website, nypl.org. There's a lot of information there. And there's within those websites, like if you're using your phone, you can click on some questions. It'll take you directly to finding your poll site, findmypollsite.vote. There are many, many websites. So again, and if you go to these websites, vote.nyc in New York City, nypl.org. You can find information, get the application to vote. And I know you can walk into any public library in Queens and find the paperwork. You can also find information at a lot of your libraries. I'm from Queens, Queensborough Public Library on the Ave, around the corner from where the Coliseum used to be. Huge library, a lot of information. You also have your Cambria Heights Library, St. Albans, a couple. Rosedale Library, Queens Village Library. There are so many libraries. I know also in Manhattan and in Brooklyn, you can find information at your local library if you are confused.
Okay, so we're just gonna kind of we have to focus on New York because remember, if you all want to find out information in your varying states, I just laid out the ways that you can figure that information out. The internet is vast, so remember, look up your state board of elections, your county board of elections, your city board of elections, if that applies to you. In New York, there are now 3 ways to vote. Did you know that, Joyce?
No, I'm just finding out like last week or something. I didn't know that way back when because I used to have to go to polls, right?
How'd you vote when your mom voted? Did you ever go with her?
Yes, I did because it was at the public school around the corner. We walked. She told me how important it was and why it was important in this country that you vote and the importance and how heavy it is. And even to the part where she's homebound now, but the last time she could walk and go out and vote might have been for Obama.
Right.
And that was a big deal.
Right.
Remember her calling me, did you go vote yet? I haven't until 9 p.m. Mom. I'm on my way. So it was big. It's definitely a big deal.
Right. So the same here. That's a whole episode about my mom's experience with voting as a woman in the South. But I would go with her and my dad, and we would walk around the corner to one of the synagogues, and that was always the polling site for us. And for a long time, for me as an adult, that was still the polling site. But in New York now, you can vote in person. We have early voting, and we can also vote on actual election day of November 5th. Or you can vote by mail. Now that's brand new, voting by mail. There's no excuse required.
Amazing.
Right?
That is amazing.
You just, send in, you request your application, you send it in. And then they have, absentee ballots, which they've already had. And there's deadlines for each of these things. But first, let's tell the people the general election dates. Joyce, when is actual election day? Because a lot of people don't know.
Tuesday, November 5th.
Great.
Is election day. It's always on a Tuesday.
Right. In New York, we have early voting that runs from October 26th till November 3rd. It is very important to know that there's no in-person voting on November 4th.
Yep.
So again, check your state and county board of elections because a lot of other states have early voting, but the dates may differ.
Yes. True story. I actually met my husband on election night. That's how I always remember the date.
That's how I always remember the date. Do you want to tell the people on whose election it was?
It was first Obama. It was an election party. And he walks up to me, "Who are you?" That is so how it happened. "I'm Joyce. Who are you?" "Well, I'm such and such's cousin." "Well, that's my best friend. I don't know you." And here we are later, but it was at an Obama election party.
Great.
That I almost didn't go to.
Yeah, well, great election and great president.
Great night.
Great night. Great
Hashtag Obama come back.
Election day hours, because we could tell this story a million different ways. Polls open at 6 a.m. Polls close at 9 p.m. If you are in line by 9 p.m., they must allow you to vote, no matter how long.
They must allow you to vote, as long as you're on that line by 9 p.m.
Right. So I want to discuss absentee ballots with folks. So, I have two boys, right? And they're both in college. And one is a state resident of the college in which, the state in which the college he goes to. He's a state resident, but my other child is not. He's still a New York State resident. So he had to fill out an application to get an absentee ballot. And he has to mail his absentee ballot in, or he can designate someone to bring it back. So I wanted to give people the deadlines for these things. Your mail-in ballot application deadlines have to be received by October 26th in New York if you do it in by mail or online. In person at your Board of Elections, November 4th, the day before Election Day. Now, I don't want Election Day, the day before. That's what it has to be received by. And for mail-in ballot return options and deadlines, by mail, postmarked no later than Tuesday, November 5th, and received by the 12th. Please don't wait to then, do it early. In person, check your local county hours. In New York County Board of Elections, they close at 9 p.m. on the 5th. Election day poll sites close by 9 on November 5th. But, check for deadlines. And just be careful, everybody. If you want to designate somebody to do this, you have to sign it on the application when you return it. You don't want them to have any issues. Again, for myself and my son, I'm not going to deliver his. He's going to go to the post office, get it postmarked, and mail it back in. In New York, you could track your ballot. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. If you mail it in or you could track the ballot. They give you the information so you can make sure that did my ballot
get That's interesting because I'm gonna track my mom's, right? So I'm gonna mail hers in and track hers. That's really good to know. It's really cool to know.
So those are some important dates and deadlines for you all. Joyce, I'm gonna ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your registration status?
It comes in the mail every voting season.
Okay.
And since it's easy because I've only had 2 addresses to vote in my whole life.
Right.
And now that I'm back at the original address,
But can you explain to people how that works? Because oftentimes, like when you move, right? Say when you first moved out, did you automatically like change your driver's license and your address and stuff?
No, I actually didn't do it until I purchased the property.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a renter, I kept it as my mom's house because that was a staple. That was always going to be there. Right. So when I purchased my property and was forced to get a license in another address and different insurance, that's when I did change it. And I don't remember. I feel like I got something in the mail and I went online just to make sure I was registered to vote in the right place.
Right.
That might have been second Obama.
Right.
And I needed to make sure that I was registered in the right place to vote.
How did you go about doing that?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember what I did.
Again, that's why we keep encouraging you to check your county, your local board of elections, right? So whichever is more local to you. It could be we're talking in New York, so if you're like saying Nassau, Suffolk, or one of the upper state counties, your county, if you're in New York City Board of Elections. Because like you, my parents' house was the staple, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's always where my driver's license has been until I moved out of New York City. And I had to make sure to do it because now I can't vote, which makes me sad that I can't vote for New York City mayor. I miss that because the majority of my life, I was a city resident.
And actually, true story, most of our lives, we voted at one place for about a mile, right? Because my husband grew up about 0.75 miles, only as I walked it, I know, away from me. And he used to vote, they used to vote at PS 176.
Right.
And then the last presidential election, all of a sudden people were showing up at PS 176. They didn't vote there anymore.
Right.
They voted at another school closer to them. They had changed our lines. They had changed it.
Yep.
And no one ever thought to look it up. People were pissed, like, where do I go now?
Right.
And that was that what year? 2020? No, before 2020. So 2016. 2016 election, there was a change in our neighborhood. People had voted the same place for 20 years, 30 years. All of a sudden, they had to vote somewhere else.
So you just raised a very important point, and I didn't want to get into it because it's really sticky. They tend to redraw the congressional
100%.
district, right? And if you're not paying attention, you won't know. And the only way people figure it out is
voting day.
They vote on voting day, right? And you have to try to pay attention. I'm telling you what, it's very important because that determines who is your congressperson on a state and local
very,
level.
Very important.
I mean, a state and federal level, right? I'm sorry. And so where I reside currently, the congressional lines were redrawn in terms of the states.
Okay.
I just want to make sure to get that correct because this is all new to me, right? As soon as I came in, I changed my driver's license. Told my husband, I changed your driver's license, and it was a really good teaching opportunity for my youngest son because he was going to turn 18. He hadn't turned 18 yet. And I was like, just be careful, because everybody was wearing my house or a license. I was like, so where you're registered to vote. And then just talking to a friend, and I was like, when I came in, a lot of people don't do this. I'm into politics, right? So I was like, I want to know who all my representatives are. Yes. And I had to figure it out. And right after we moved here, they redrew the line.
Really?
Yeah.
So interesting. So
I was confused.
And I think, so I remember going to vote in a recent election, and you pull up that first time you ever voted, your little signatures on the line, like you could actually see that signature. And I can't imagine that feeling of rolling up to a place you've been voting your whole life and all of a sudden you can't vote there.
Right.
And timers, right? Because if you're online before 9 o'clock, so now you got to make it, another a mile in a different direction or half a mile in a different direction. And it's like, wow. It was a big deal when they changed it. Very big deal.
it's something that you said, and there's tons of stuff we could tell you all. We don't have a lot of time to do it now. When you see your signature on that little line,
Woo.
right? Do you know, just until recently, there were people required to show their ID to vote. You don't have to show your ID to vote.
Tell them.
Your signature on that little line.
What
You don't
do.
even look to it and say, oh, that's my signature. You give them your name, they hand you your ballot. The only time I believe in New York where you have to show your ID is when you registered, if you went in person and you didn't have ID at that.
Oh, okay.
But then, even if you don't have ID, they can't
Can't do it.
It's ways to cure. And, you know, there's a lot of voter fraud.
A lot of voter fraud. And also, just let me add, you're also entitled to an interpreter if you need one.
Absolutely.
In several different
Very
languages.
important.
Haitian Creole, Spanish, French, Russian,
Arabic,
Chinese, yes.
Japanese, all different.
Both Mandarin and
Yes.
traditional, yes. And based on where your polling site is, they know the demographics of the neighborhood going in.
Right.
So if you do speak a different language, you should be looking for that table where the can't say the word, where the people are who speak your language.
Right.
And they will be there.
Right.
To help you.
Even if you have any sort of disability, right? The polling sites have to be
ADA compliant.
Right. That's right. Another point is felon disenfranchisement. In New York, a convicted felon can register to vote if his or her maximum sentence of imprisonment has expired, he or she has been pardoned or restored to rights of citizenship. Individuals on parole and probation have their right to vote restored upon release, but must re-register.
Oh.
You know how many people don't know that?
Really?
Yeah.
So they take the right away from you when they imprison you. And then when you come out of prison, you could get it back, but you have to start all over again.
You gotta just re-register.
Okay.
It's not hard to re-register. And Joyce, did you give the people the deadline to register to vote? Because I think a lot of people think it passed and it's not.
Saturday, October 26th is the deadline in New York to register to vote.
Yes.
And also for New York City, it's the early mail ballot and absentee ballot request deadline. And you know, it's a good thing because I have to request my mom's early voting ballot and absentee ballot. So I needed to know that.
So we want to encourage you all to know what's on your ballot. This is going to be a tough year, a heavy year for a lot of people. Because, you know, one of the things my mama didn't tell me, but my dad always discussed with me was actual politics. So mom could tell me the history, but my dad discussed actual politics with me. But remember, you're not only voting for the president of the United States in this election. The House of Representatives is up for vote. Your local and county representatives and state representatives are up for election. So know what's on your ballot. You ever saw those propositions and questions? Yes.
And I don't always know them before I get there, but I found a website, Ballotpedia, BALLOT, PEDIA.org. You put in your address and it tells you what's on your ballot based on where you live. Because remember, there are different proposals. And also NYC Votes. That is the vote.nyc website I gave you earlier. That's supposed to also give you any proposals for New York City. Again, if you don't live in New York, thank you for watching, but you need to find out for you where your information is. And we're going to go back to the Board of Elections, like Joy told us first thing out the gate. But this is information that I have for us. So ballotpedia.org will tell you what's on your ballot based on your address.
I have something else called I Will Vote, www.iwillvote.com. Let me just make sure I have it right. www.iwillvote.com. It's voter information and ballot tracking tools. And I'm telling you, these websites these websites work because when I moved in here and I was trying to determine it, like I had to go see who my senators were and everything like that. But so speaking of the ballot, what issues are important to you, if you don't mind sharing, in this upcoming election? What do you want to see your representatives talk about?
So, not ashamed to say, given my career, 28 years, and retirement is on the forefront of my mind, right? And retirement from that particular job. It doesn't mean I won't work again, but definitely retirement. So, interest rates, gas prices, grocery prices, home sales, right? We may want to retire to someplace else, nationwide, someplace warm where there's no snow. For sure, no more shoveling in my future.
Yeah.
You know, how do I secure my retirement? What does that look like? I have anxiety over making the same amount of money for the rest of my life, like that central source.
Right.
And regardless of how much money that is, the world around us will change.
Right.
And we are young. God willing, we're living another 30 years after retirement, give or take. Our genes are pretty good. I see it in our future.
Probably gonna check out.
I see it in our future.
Sick of y'all.
So, you know, how do we prepare to live another 30 years?
Right.
And what does that look like? And also the job markets, because what funds Social Security? What's going to fund Medicare, Medicaid? It's our present job market.
Right.
That's what funds it. So for me, those things are a big deal.
Right.
I feel that we're in a pretty good place. Middle of the road, average folk.
Right.
You know, by the grace of God, right? But COVID almost broke people. I can't even begin to tell you what COVID did to my retirement plan. You know, when the market crashed in 07, 08, that also killed my retirement plan.
Right.
So these are the things that are really important to me. What's next? What does that look like? How do I live another 30 years and not have this great anxiety over what that looks like?
Right. I think that's what most people are actually thinking about, right? For me, I want my 40 acres and a mule.
Here we go.
I want my 40 acres and a mule. We don't discuss reparations enough. We don't discuss it at a federal level. And neither one of the candidates are talking about it. I'm going to be frank. I'm going to be honest. But I'm voting for Kamala. I'm voting for Vice President Harris. I listened to her economic plan, and it acknowledged to me the crises that people are going through right now. So again, I have 2 college-age children. I have a stepdaughter who is about to go to college, but she has 2 more years in high school. We are okay, I guess.
We're okay.
We're okay financially by the grace of God. But I'm broke this week because everybody keeps asking me for money. But when I go to the grocery store, I'm like, how are people feeding their children, feeding their families? Because let me tell you, it was hard for me as a single mother. And when I listened to Vice President Harris's economic plan, I'm like, she got it.
Let me tell you, I was at the grocery this morning. The grapefruits are 2 for $5. A regular sized pink grapefruit. Just 2 of them, not 2 bags. Just 2. All right, we run a food pantry at our church, Fridays and Saturdays.
Right.
And we were supposed to be closed actually on Saturday. We had something going on. But cars were lined up. So we opened. People are struggling. They're hungry. And you know, when I can, I help out at the pantry. and you meet some people. They're going through something.
Right.
It's crazy. I'm afraid to look at what eggs are this week. I haven't looked. That's why I don't have. And gas prices is the only thing I think right now that stayed a little. When they hit above $5, I went out and got my electric car. I haven't looked back.
I have an electric car too, but somebody said to me the other day, actually my friend, she came into town to visit and she was like, gas is whatever. I was like, girl, I don't use gas. I have an electric vehicle, but I need a second vehicle that's gas, but I use the BJs, if I'm driving a gas car because gas was high. But I know it kind of leveled out. But it's funny when you mentioned eggs. People been asking me for cakes.
They gotta bring the eggs. Forget about the flour and the sugar. They gotta pay you in eggs.
They have to bring the eggs. I went to BJ's last night, okay? I'm gonna tell you what I bought. I bought a case of water, 40 bottles. I bought 2 containers of laundry detergent because I don't use the same detergent they use to wash my clothes in. 1 thing of fabric softener, a bag of garbage bags.
Over $100.
$176.
Yep.
And I renewed my $55 membership. And I know the computer didn't lie, but I stood there and I added the other stuff up.
You did it, my mother.
I did. I felt like my mother because I was like, how 54, 52, because they put tax on renewing the membership. How did that, plus I didn't have any food.
Girl.
I didn't have any food. This is just so we could wash our clothes and throw the garbage out.
So I used to laugh at my mom. She would send the aides to the store for my grandmother. They'd come back with the receipt and the change, and she'd pull up her big calculator.
Yeah.
And, I go, Mom, whatever. But I catch myself, I'm adding up with the people at the register, and I'm like, if my number is $5 off, I'm studying the receipt, walking to the car, bumping into things, studying that receipt, because that's real.
But with this tax plan, that she has enumerated over and over again. That's why I don't know what people be where they say they haven't seen her plan. She's offering an incentive to people with children.
She is.
Because I know I'm going to be all right, and I know my boys are grown, but I constantly worry about, I'm like, because I know that feeling. I know that feeling when the boys were here and he was in office. I remember that feeling of struggling, right? And I don't want people to struggle, right? Because all Trump cares about is people who are wealthy. I'm sorry. And
you know what? When other people, even though you're not struggling, when other people struggle, they'll do anything.
That's right.
And there goes crime. So it's it affects us all.
Right.
Like, it's important to me, not only because I'm a Christian, because God said, but because it's important for my pocketbook as well. And it's also important for my livelihood and my safety.
Right.
I work in a metropolitan area. Any given day, someone can lose it because of these prices or what's happening. So we need to make sure we keep everybody eating, keep everybody safe. Because if you're not safe, then you start to do things that are a little sideways and make the rest of us not safe, right? So we're all in this together. It's very, very important. That being said,
but I didn't get through my issues. I feel like, again, the first thing I said is I want my 40 acres and a mule, because reparations is a very serious topic that is being discussed on several state levels, which is why it is very important to vote. There's this whole commission being formed in the state of New York to determine reparations. You all need to pay attention as to who's on that commission. There are commissions being formed even in the state of California to discuss reparations. You all need to be informed to who's on that commission, because the way I feel, and I'm being honest, is if you don't know my struggle, you don't really have a right to determine what I should get.
Agreed.
It is very important who's on those commissions. Economics, if you want to own a home, there's so many people I know who want to own homes.
They can't afford it.
Vice President Harris laid out a plan for it. you all have to vote. You gotta vote. So those are two distinct differences of issues. One on a federal level, our economics overall, taxes overall, and a state issue, reparations, that makes it so important to know the difference in who your representatives are, to know the difference in voting on the state and local level.
Yes, exactly. So you want your 40 acres and a mule. But what about immediately? That may take a while.
I want it tomorrow.
It may not come tomorrow. So if it does, what else are you looking for besides your 40 acres and a mule?
So other issues that are very
What about college tuition?
Are very well. I'm already paying. So I'm just saying, you asked me what else I'm looking for. Reparations to me do come in different forms. So I'm not gonna stay here all night because this could be a whole episode about reparations. But other issues that are very important to me are women's health and reproductive rights. We're gonna be doing a show on that. From a woman's right to choose. Like, this has gone so far left that they're not only discussing the rights for us to determine whether we can choose to keep or terminate a pregnancy. They brought an IVF into this.
Crazy.
That's a very, very sensitive topic for myself.
And myself.
And so now we don't have the right to determine whether we can have a baby, if we can't have a baby.
Crazy.
Women's health issues, menopause, these are all issues that affect us, and Black women in particular, in how we're treated. And another issue that's very near and dear to my heart is recidivism, and rights afforded to felons, which is why I pointed out that they do have a right to vote when they get out of jail. So yeah, I have a laundry list of things, but what's important to me and what's important to you might be different for somebody else. The key is you gotta vote.
You have to vote. We're not telling you who to vote for. We're telling you to vote. If by chance that is on the Harris Waltz ticket, sure. We love it.
We love it.
We love it. But vote, vote, vote.
So thank you for joining us. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Things My Mama Never Told Me. We are on YouTube. You can catch us live. Turn on your notifications. This again was a special pre-recorded episode in case you want to go back for information. You can reach out to us. Things My Mama Never Told Me on Facebook. You can reach out to us, Things My Mama Never Told Me, on Instagram. We have a Gmail account, Things My Mama Never Told Me @gmail.com. And again, like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Turn on notifications. We'll see you soon. We're gonna have a very special episode this month. And please, please, please do all you can to support the fight to cure breast cancer. Fight the cure. Wear your pink, buy special bras. I bought a bra.
Special bras?
Yeah, they were selling, Fight for the Cure. I bought a bra. They had this little thing in Macy's the other day, and percentage, because the bra was like $76, and a large percentage went to an organization to find a cure for breast cancer. So remember that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get your mammograms, please.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us on another episode of Things My Mama Never Told Me. See you soon.
Bye.
Peace.